Thank you so much. I may or may not need this mic, right? So it's really a pleasure to be here. I enjoyed the first session. Did we enjoy the first session? I particularly liked, coming down to the end, that glimmer of hope in something that's working, you know, because for many years, well, I'm very young, so many years is very relative. But for 10 years I've been in higher ed, 7 of which I was with the Culter Levy and Yonkers, and I was very accustomed to dealing with high-achieving students, but yet I was going to every high school really in the city. So I was visiting literally hundreds of high schools per year, and I was very struck by the climate, by the environment, and a lot of questions given the fact that I didn't grow up here. And today's panel will really give you a student's perspective on how our students are feeling about where they're housed, and give us some ideas of how we could really change that climate today. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to first just highlight the objectives of today's workshop so that we have an idea of what we're trying to accomplish today. So we hope to gain a clearer understanding from students of the challenges that exist inside and outside of the classroom that contribute to the behavioral health of our schools. Secondly, we'll learn from students endorsed methods for creating a school culture that ensures that there is discipline, safety, student engagement and achievement, as well as overall student and staff well-being. And lastly, we'll examine the positive impacts on school culture that can be fostered through community building, student empowerment, leadership development, and peer mentorship. So today we have the pleasure of having 3 students. A lot of times we create a lot of programs and run a lot of initiatives that impact students, but a lot of times it doesn't involve their voice in it at all. So I just want them to quickly introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about who you are, and then I'll go straight into questions.
Okay. My name is Tasia Pink. I'm a junior at Palisade Prep in Yonkers. I've been at Palisade Prep for 6 years now. I think I was chosen for this panel because I've been in my school for 6 years. I've seen the change in administrators, and I've lived in Yonkers my whole life, so I kind of have a feel of the community around my school and the community inside my school.
My name is Angel Moore. I attend Roosevelt High School. I'm a senior. I think I was chosen to be on this panel because Roosevelt had a bad reputation, and we have many different administrators in our school, and the changing of our school name and also our administrator came with disciplinary rules that was enforced, would change our school, made it better in such a marvelous way.
Hello, my name is Tim Robinson. I attend Gordon High School. I'm a senior, and I have a good perspective of Yonkers communities and Yonkers public schools and what went on here and the change that's happening in Gordon over the last couple of years, recent years, like we all have in common. That's it.
All right. So our first question is on the outside of our school buildings, right? So could you each tell me what is it like growing up in Yonkers? And how do you think that impacts your school?
May I go first?
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
Well, in Yonkers, it's a good community based on what you get involved in. Like, if you get involved in sports at a young age, you can join like the Gladiators, the North Yonkers programs. But there's not enough of those programs to get involved in. Like, a lot of kids, they get involved in gangs at a young age, and they don't really understand the meaning of education in school and moving on to do something positive in their lives. So when there's not enough programs, and like there's no JV sports, for example, so there's not no freshmen who want to play against seniors, and then that development will stop. So you go to school, and after school, what is there to really do? So that then they get involved in the bad parts of our community.
I always describe Yonkers as sort of being bipolar. You can go walk on the same street and like you'll be in a less fortunate neighborhood, and 10 paces up you're in a completely different neighborhood. So we always say that depending on like what side of town you are, you kind of get a different experience.
I think growing up in Yonkers since it's very diverse, everybody is more to themselves. We're not together as a whole. We don't go out to help each other. We worry about ourselves, and that's just it. And we need to get together and help each other, empower each other in order to make Yonkers better than what it already is.
All right, so could you go a little bit more personal for me? So that's the outside, that's Yonkers. How do those things that you mentioned actually affect you as a person growing up in this area? We can start with you.
I would start by splitting Yonkers into two groups. Like there's a northern part of Yonkers that everyone says the north side, I would say, and then there's a southern part of Yonkers where everyone would say the south side. So basically, if you go to a school in the south side of Yonkers and you live in the north side, there's already a little bit of difficulties with you pertaining to different students. So like if I lived in the north and I played and I'll say I went to like Mark Twain or something in middle school, there would be, oh, you live on this side of Yonkers, and someone already wouldn't like me and judge me just because I live on a different side of Yonkers, not knowing who I am. And that's one of the biggest problems, I can say, gang-related issues inside Yonkers and the schools, because those issues don't just stay on the streets, they bring them into schools, and that gives our schools a bad reputation. And then, I can see why no one want to do any programs, because the kids, they already want to do violence and stuff in the schools without no real meaning, without no real perspective, I should say.
That actually falls in line with one of the earlier presentations today that kind of talked about, how people are experiencing you. You have a certain perception of yourself, but then you leave and you go to another area and others are perceiving you differently. Any other comments from Asia or Asia about how those actual things affect you? What are you observing in your neighborhood, right, that ends up affecting the school scenario?
Well, I would say we just don't get enough support from the people in Yonkers. We don't get support. Nobody is pushing us to want to do better. It's all these games, but there's not enough parents outside wanting their kids to do better. It's too many. We get caught up in these games, and it's just not good because there's nobody outside stopping it.
All right, let's talk about social media. Because I remember in our earlier conversation, and this is, I'm all connected, high tech and everything, but I never thought of the concept, social media outside of school could be possibly affecting things that are going on inside school, right? So one of you, I believe, observed at one time something that was going on in social media that was about to affect your in-school environment and climate. Could you give us some more information on that?
Well, me and a group of my friends, we were on social media, and there was a group of kids who were arguing, and basically they were gonna come to school and fight. So we took it upon ourselves to go to the administrator to let them know what was going on. That next day, it would have made an even bigger problem than it needed to be. So we went to the administrator, we told them what happened, showed them what was going on Facebook, and basically they stopped it right there before it became into something that it shouldn't need to be. Bringing violence into the school, getting cops involved, just something that we don't need. And so they didn't come to school, they stopped it before it ended up coming to the building, making it something bigger than what it needed to be.
All right. So Mel, you told me one time you visited Rochester recently. What was your experience there, and how can you compare it to this? By the way, we're just setting this up, so we're going to get to solutions, we're going to get to what's going on inside the school, but we just want you to get a sense of what the students are dealing with and what they're seeing when they enter different worlds that is affecting them when they go to school. So how about that trip to Rochester?
Alright, so I can start by saying, when I'm in school, they always say when you go to college, you're going to meet people that you like, different friends, and you're going to go different places, you're going to like different things, so you should leave where you came from. I always thought that everyone in my community, I've been raised here since I was, I should say, about 3 years old, so I always liked everyone in my community, so I didn't really think I would have to go anywhere. So not too long ago, I went to Rochester, New York to spend the night at St. John's Fisher College. And then I went to places like Wagman's, I went to visit the local stores, and I noticed that the relationship that everyone has there, there's no hate between no one. Everyone says they love each other. They got a different kind of relationship with each other. They have a better connection. The stores that everyone says good morning. Everyone has morning. Sorry if I say that, but everyone has something. Everyone just has something nice to say. And as in the Yonkers community, where I probably won't even speak to though no one would probably say good morning. It's really quiet. Everyone's to themselves. Personal issues aren't really discussed. Everything's really secretive. But when I went to this community, I just liked how opened up people were, how they are automatically so like the good in me instead of wanting to portray me as something bad. I just like that. I like that perspective of Rochester, New York, and the way people establish like a good relationship with each other. Like I never really seen that in my community. I'm not saying I don't have people that have a good relationship. Like my coaching staff is pretty good. I love my coaching staff. They're making me go to another level that I didn't think I would be able to achieve. But, all right.
Good. Any other comments on that? Experiences that you've had? Okay, so let's go into the school. Right? So, number one, what does school mean to you? So you grapple with all of these things outside of school, neighborhood, community. What does school actually mean to you?
You know, like what we said, like school is your home away from home. You're in school for majority of your day. Like you're there from 7:45 to 2:30, and if you're involved in sports, I used to never get out of school till 7 o'clock. So I was in school for 12 hours. So school is like I said, you're home away from home. Like you go there and you kind of expect what you get at home to get at school, like love and support.
What I would say about school, I feel that school is, since like she had said, you're going to be there most of the time, and I know that because if you play any sports here, I'm definitely there the whole summer. That's my home. When I'm there in the summer, it's my home even the winter, no matter what season it is. So I believe that our school should be a more lively place, a place that you should love to go to. And a lot of our students don't like going to school. They cut, they leave, just because they don't, I don't want to say feel accepted there, just because they don't have no real connection to it. They don't really understand what school actually does for you. Like I like speaking to people on the streets of Yonkers that tell me that every single one of them say, make sure you do good in school. So I try to tell it to my friends, but they don't understand the concept.
There's a disconnect. All right. How about you?
For me, school is definitely my second home. Because I know at home I have 6 other siblings, so I don't really get that love and support I think I need and I should have. So I know like when I go to school, the teachers are definitely on me constantly, making sure my grades are together, and I get that push that I need.
All right. So a lot of times, as educators, and we all do great work. But sometimes we can get so focused on the numeracy and the literacy stuff, when in fact, yes, the school's primary purpose is not to share love, but there's that environment and that expectation and sometimes that gap that students are looking to this place for, right? So could you tell me a little bit about your current school culture? Or if you've seen your school culture change, could you kind of describe how that change came about?
When I was in 9th grade, my principal was Miss White. I don't know if you guys know her. But yeah.
You don't have to name drop. If you don't know who we're friends.
Okay, well, one of my administrators from 9th grade, I felt like people respected her because they feared her. Like it wasn't a respect that she should have got right off the bat because, you get respect to get respect. It was more so, oh, she's walking in the hall, so, you have to respect her. Her overall, perception, I guess you could say, was just, not good for students. I don't think you could say that. But now, we have But now, we have an administrator, and he's, really cool with, all of the kids. He used to play basketball, so, all of the boys really look up to him. And I know he comes into the classroom. He talks to us in the hallways. He's, more of, I guess because he had kids, so he's like a father figure, but then he has that administrator. So he respected because he gives us that respect.
Right, he's engaged,
Yeah, he's
but
engaged,
still you respect his authority,
right,
and his position and the things that he's trying to accomplish within the system.
Yeah.
Anybody else just describe your current school culture or any changes that you've seen?
So I've been at Policy Prep for 6 years, so 6th grade, and it's my 11th grade year. We've had change in administrators over the years. So we had to change administrators. My administrator now has been like a complete change for our school, like a complete change for the better. Before our school, like we didn't really have like a lot of structure. So kids were going to school, like class, whatever time they wanted. They were hanging out in the halls. But when we got our new principal, she kind of like instilled like structure again and within us. So we started getting hall sweeps in class. Like you had to be in class on time. The thing about her is like she came into our school. She was like new being a principal to our school and stuff like that. She earned the respect with us. She didn't just like force us to respect her. She like, came, like she walked the halls with us. We always like say like whenever we hear keys or heels, it's time to get to class.
Right, so you don't have a problem with expectations being set, right? You just want to have more of that engagement so that you know that, they're engaged in the process in the hallway. You can interface with them, interact with them, and, while still respecting.
Yeah. It's nice to know, like, to be able to go to any of our administrators and be able to talk to them without fear of getting in trouble ourselves.
So they're accessible. All right. Anybody else on that topic about your current school climate?
I could start from when I was in 9th grade, how I saw a change. I remember on my first day in high school at Gordon, I remember I was sitting in class and then the bell had already rang, and I just came from middle school, so I remember once the bell rings, you have to be in class. And I could say there's a whole bunch of seniors, juniors walking around for about 20 minutes after the first day, and they already know where they're supposed to be because they've been here before. So now, like every year, I noticed something different would happen, and it wouldn't be something that was more strict. It was just a more rule. Like they tried to get more involved. Like they told you if you came late. I think it was like if you had a certain amount of lates, they would notify your parents, that you would get suspended, you would get in trouble. But before there was none of that. You came late every single day. You would go to class late every day. The teachers would complain. Nothing would change. But I would say over the years, there's been an increased amount of change in the school. More activities like I could say we even changed up our football league program. We have like the Yonkers city champion things. Like there's just more things that we can get involved in and have fun and get the experience that other schools can have.
You're big on activity, aren't you?
Yes, definitely.
You like to be engaged, you like to be involved. Inactivity
Yes.
is a problem because it's going to create the wrong activity
Yeah.
and create the wrong climate. All right, so have any of you had disciplinary challenges, behavioral challenges that cause discipline to be enacted in any way? Do you have a history, past, present?
I can start from when I was a freshman again. I noticed that when you're a freshman or something, you're already going to get judged kind of as like you're new to the school, you don't really know the rules yet. So I remember it's usually you get suspended right away as a freshman. I remember I got in trouble and
What was that trouble?
Alright, I was in classroom, and my friend had threw a paper bowl at this girl, and she had got up and she assumed it was me, and she had hit me in my face, and then we went to the office, and she was like really angry and upset and crying and everything. So she had told the administrators, I believe it was, that I had done it. And I didn't make the best judgment, and I said a remark like, "Oh, I think she likes me, that's why she hit me." So I automatically got suspended just because I didn't have a good point, or I didn't make a good point right away, and I didn't get to speak to anyone else to make my point.
How old were you then?
I would say 15, 16.
That's a beautiful example, based on what we heard this morning, right? How are we being measured in terms of conduct, and how are we defining these things? It turned out it wasn't even you.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Right? But you felt like you were being singled out, and you said something that you said yourself might not have been the best thing in the situation. And next thing you know, you're suspended, right? Anybody else? We understand it's in your past. You're all going to college, great grades. But there is a past, and if there's something that's not working with the system that can be shared, they can realize, here, look at the trajectory of this student. This is what he was being suspended for. Look at what he's doing now. What if he continued in this activity and felt labeled and ended up in the wrong place, right? So your story is going to help somebody.
Well, this actually happened this year, and I'm a senior.
Go ahead.
Don't look down on me, guys.
No, I'm not.
Okay, so basically, me and this boy got into like a big argument, and like he called me out of my name. So like I just went to the administrator and told him what happened, but like I got detention and he got detention, and I didn't even do nothing. So I don't think that was right.
You didn't think that was right?
No, like he didn't like really understand what happened, and he was like, oh, just because I gave him detention, I need to give you it because then they're gonna think it's not fair. But I didn't do nothing. So.
Tasia, have you observed, may not have personally experienced, but have you observed certain trends, inconsistencies or things that you don't believe is working with the current system in terms of suspensions?
May I go?
Let's give Tasia a chance first. Don't forget your point, though.
We're talking about detention and, like she said, and in-house and out-house regular suspension. In our schools, in Yonkers, we don't do in-house suspensions anymore. Now you kind of just get suspended and you kind of just go home. And we talked about how that's kind of like, that can be an inconvenience for the parents, now, like, not for as much as for high schoolers, but in middle schools when a kid is suspended, now that parent has to take off from work. They have to stay the day with their kid at home. And then most schools require parents to come back with the kid to come back to school before they can, attend classes, and that's another day off from school. And I feel we were saying that in-house suspensions are kind of more, beneficial for the kids and for the parents, because being in school and not being able to do anything is better than being home and just doing nothing. Because most kids, I've had kids say all right, I'll just suspend you 2 days, that's vacation. No, you just got suspended for 2 days. In Yonkers, you need seat time. If you don't have a certain amount of classes and you're not in school enough, you won't graduate. So we're talking about in-house suspensions and how that's more beneficial for the kids, because, if I'm just sitting in school all day and I get to see all my friends go to class and I'm just sitting in the office, doing work, it's wow, maybe I should be here.
Tamil?
I could say that if you're getting suspended and you go home and you say if you only have one parent and your parent is working, what is your real discipline? Most of my friends or kids that I know that get suspended and they just go home, they be like, oh, we'll be on Xbox Live a little earlier today. Social media, there's nothing, it doesn't feel like a punishment. You have nothing happen. If they're already not a good student in school, they're coming back. They don't care about the work they're not going to try to make it up. So I feel that even though you're getting suspended and it's going down on whatever document it is, that is still not a punishment that you're going to see fit, because you're not going to learn. You're probably going to fight later on in the week. You're just going to just go home again and write that down.
So you find it's not effective, and it's actually creating more of the similar activity.
Especially if someone's been suspended multiple times. If it's their 6th time being suspended and they really didn't learn the third or fourth time, it's nothing to them the 6th or 7th or 8th time.
Okay. So Dr. Gregory earlier this morning, she talked about relational support and problem solving, right? How do you believe the role of your teachers and how they interact with you really affects the school culture at your school? The in-class aspect of it.
There are teachers in some schools that, my school, that are very unapproachable. You can't go up to them, if say I miss today because I'm not in school, and I'm here, and I go up to them to try to make up work, they're just some teachers are just going to be you should have been here. It's easier when a teacher is willing to talk to you. If a teacher is kind of here's the work, and especially if you need help in a specific subject, it's nice to know that you can go up to your teacher okay, all right, maybe I can't talk after class now, but here are my after school hours, you can definitely come and see me for it.
Any other things?
I think a lot of teachers don't understand that school is our second home. A lot of teachers just come to school for a paycheck and they don't really come to school to teach us and do what they're supposed to do, and they forget
We
like.
love teachers, man.
Yeah.
We do. I love it.
Yeah, I love both my teachers. But I just feel like a lot of teachers just don't take it as serious as they should, and we don't really get what we should get.
When a teacher tells us, like, you don't have to be quiet, I still get paid.
Yeah, like
Like,
they make
like,
comments.
to
and
us,
stuff.
to our students, like, it's like, okay, what are you really here for?
No?
Yeah, I had teachers in the past that was like, for example, I wanted to run the marathon. I wanted to try it out, and there was this thing called Teens Run Yonkers, and one of my teachers got me involved in it, and I always like speaking to her. I like teachers that I can communicate with, say good morning to. There's actually one of my teachers I like giving apples to sometimes, but I just like being able to have a good relationship with my teacher. If I can't speak to my teacher and say, good morning or something, and I noticed that a lot of teachers like to stay distant from a lot of students. So if you're going to stay distant from a lot of students, you might not get that same respect in return, because I would always give respect because that's just how I was told. But if you're not told to give a lot of respect, you're not going to give it.
So how do you think you could create a culture that really invites that sort of connection, support? I think one of you mentioned when we talked earlier about your engagement in some bullying, bullying panel. So you're engaged in something like that in your school, or there's a system where you can get involved in the process. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
So at my school, we have a thing called the Phoenix panel. We basically do peer mediation. So like, if someone feels like they're getting bullied by someone, they would, talk to our administrators or talk to us, and our administrators will handle like kind of like a case down to us, right? And we would take care of it. Like, we would bring in the students and we would talk to them. We talked about like having having students being able to talk to other students that know that can help them.
I would just say like active after school activity, or just activity in school that would make me end up speaking to my teacher. Like, for example, my football coach is the gym teacher, so I'm going to get to know him when I'm a freshman. I'm just starting school. So say if my English teacher did like after school law club or something, or just any different clubs or something, because it's not a lot of clubs in my school at all. It's either the 3 sports that you can play. There's just not really much you could do. So I'm not going to be able to speak to my teacher unless he says, "Oh, come after school, you can do this with me after school tutoring." But a lot of times that's not offered either.
So you really believe that relationship is what is going to really form the culture of your school. I was actually driving over here, and I called my dad, who lives in Guyana, and I told him what I was about to be a part of, and he gave me 2 quotes. He says, "The exercise of authority should be undergirded by affection, so that alienation is avoided." And then he says, "Rules without relationship lead to rebellion." Right? So that's just another example of everything that you're saying here. If you have an opportunity to interact more with teachers outside of just class instruction, you will feel as if you know them a little better, they get to know you a little better, you can relate with them better, and you'll create a better culture, a better environment. Any other comments on that? Any other things?
Teachers involved with students more is a way to develop the relationship between them. Because I have in my school, I have 2 teachers that I could go and talk to, especially if something's going on at home or if something's going on in my personal life, and just you wouldn't do that for everyone, but it would be nice to know that the other teachers are there, that I wouldn't say if my 2 teachers aren't there, who's left to talk to for me.
I just think a lot of teachers just aren't involved in after school activities. Cause I know with the volleyball team, we wanted to do a volleyball game against the staff, and so going to get teachers to participate in the game is really hard. Cause they after school.
They probably just do
I don't want to stay after school. Also that, But they're I don't want to stay after school, and they always have an excuse. Nobody wants to participate in after school activities. Also, we had a little party at school, and there was only the administrators there, but there was barely any teachers there involved in it.
Yeah, our school also, we do like an honor roll breakfast, so like the kids that make the honor roll, you kind of get to come down like second, third period, you know, and enjoy like a nice breakfast. And we get maybe 2 or 3 teachers that come down to congratulate the kids and say, keep up the good work, like congratulations.
Right, so under the PBIS, we heard a lot about that earlier. They have recommendations. How do we address the needs of our students with academic behavioral deficits? These were the 6 things that I found even before coming to the conference. It said be proactive, right? Focus on prevention. Teach, model, and reinforce appropriate expected behaviors and skill sets. Fairly and equitably apply measures across the entire school population, so consistency. You know, our students mentioned sometimes a teacher makes an empty threat and really doesn't follow through with it, so they then take that and run with it for the next 2, 3, 4 times. Number 5, be consistent with persons and settings. And number 6, pay attention to the use of resources, effort, and teacher-student time spent engaging students in instruction, which went right in line with Dr. Gregory's focus on academics in itself, helping to create that climate. We're going to move on to the next segment, which talks about community building, student empowerment, leadership development, and peer mentorship. So what does your school currently have in place to create a sense of community? Anything? Or if they don't have it, I know Tamelio say have more activities. We can go more in detail with that, right? But what does your school have right now that gives you that sense of community? One, maybe an activity that you're engaged in or something that you observe that you see really affects the culture of the school.
Well, in my school, I know my guidance counselor and my administrator, they got a group of kids to go speak to the 9th graders and tell them our experience in high school and let them know that they can come up to us and talk to us if they had any problems, if they need any help with homework. Just let them know, like, we're all here for each other. We all want to succeed and go to college, go further on with success.
How big is that program, Angel?
It's really not that big, honestly.
Give me a number.
There's like probably 10 kids that does.
You think that's good enough?
No, it's not. And,
No.
and we only did it one time so far, so we need to we need to constantly be on top of these kids, let them know the real deal. Because 9th grade is very important, and nobody realized that until the last minute.
Does your school have like an orientation where these sort of things about school culture is announced or presented at the beginning of a school year?
I guess like hearing it from teachers like, oh, you guys need to do your work, you need to do your homework, or this is gonna happen, it's boring. Like they don't want to hear that. They want to actually hear from students like, oh, I messed up in 9th and 10th grade year, but I got it together 11th and 12th grade, like, and that's what you need to do. But if you know that I messed up in 9th and 10th grade, don't follow my footsteps. Start off right from 9th grade.
Yeah, let them know that it's really not worth it wasting that time.
Exactly.
All right, anything else?
Now that you had said that, I think it would be good to have more student leadership programs because I don't really get in contact with any of the 9th graders throughout the year, and I don't really get to tell them, oh, make sure you do this class. But I would see a couple of them on some of their sports teams, but that's the only real community building I really see inside my school. Mainly just sports, once in a while the honor roll breakfast, but if I can tell a 9th grader, if you don't make sure you have these classes and these regents that you're going to get left back and be here for like a 6th, 7th year, then they probably won't find it as important.
Right, Principal Doggett, when he was closing out this session, he really talked about the program SOAR and really how that's having an effect. And I lit up because here it is, you are really bringing a culture to a high school and focusing on the positive and rewarding the positive. And you don't really see a whole lot of that in your high schools right now. Are they focusing on what you're doing wrong, or are they really
Well,
Speaking more of the positive.
I know like in my school they do like student of the month and stuff like that.
Okay,
So
student
like,
of the month.
yeah, so I know like there's this kid in my class who like, she don't be coming to school like that, but like when she does come, she tries her best and stuff like that. So like she got on student of the month and it just made her feel like happy and stuff like that, cause you know, it encourages you.
Oh, so she wasn't the ideal student, but because of her efforts, you know,
She got student of
she
the
got
month
rewarded.
and she felt like really good, and like now she comes to school and she does everything she has to do. So I think like having teachers like encourage us and just show us like love and support and let us know like, all right, you're falling down right now, but we can help you achieve your goals and get higher than what you are is great, and that's what we need.
What support, or you wanted to say something?
It's not always the best hearing what you did wrong. You know, I mean, of course, everyone does make mistakes. We do make mistakes, you know, we're teenagers. But when we're constantly getting penalized for the things we did wrong, like everything is wrong, like where's the positive in it?
Anything else to Mel?
I could talk about how when we're at Gordon, well not at Gordon, just in school, Yonkers schools in general, how I don't think when positive things happen, they really push those positive things out there. Like as if a negative thing happened, like not too long ago, a bad incident happened at Gordon where a teacher, or I think a substitute, got hurt by a student. That was all over the news for a while, but if our students is graduating or making honor roll or something, that does not get pushed up there. Things that are positive don't get pushed up.
The positive isn't recognized.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So what opportunities do you have right now for student development, student leadership initiatives?
I could talk about the college board program, not college board, but the Wi-Fi program that they put inside Gordon School, High School, because I remember before when I would speak to the seniors on the football team, they would always tell me D1, but they didn't understand what the importance of school held.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really either until I got to, about the beginning of my junior year, and I got to speak to different people saying, oh, make sure you have this done for college, this done. But I was already always fairly good, which made me fortunate. But when I came my freshman year, there wasn't really no one guiding kids to go to college, because if your parents didn't even go to college, how are you supposed to know that I would need all this personal information to apply for whatever college, and how am I going to know what to study, how am I going to know what I need? And kids, when they're a senior, they're like, I want to be a doctor and go to this school. But it's going to be impossible to be a doctor and go to this school if you got no credits, no good averages. You didn't take none of the AP classes required, so you're out of competition when it comes to competing with another student and another
So
school.
you're saying we should infuse more of college information or career information much earlier in the process. Whether students are cued into it or not, you see it as valuable that they should get this information earlier.
Right.
Okay?
Seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, like, you know, having a goal to work towards.
Oh, wow. Say that again. Right? So you actually have something that you're working towards. You have a target. Right?
Not everyone wants to go to college. There are kids like,
That's true.
you know, but there are always alternatives that most kids don't know about. You can be like a technician, you can be a mechanic, and there are some careers out there that you don't necessarily need to go to college for, but you can be at a trade school, but those things aren't taught. Like, we're kind of told that if we don't go to college, we kind of fail after high school.
Anything else, Angel?
Well, I know like 9th grade year, we didn't have like the YPI college advisors. So like we couldn't go to our guidance counselor and talk to them about college, and they weren't like really involved in telling us about college and really what it is. But like now that YPI is involved and we have college advisors, like all of my college applications are sent, we do our FAFSA, everything is done. Like, she works with us with everything. So, like, I got accepted to 10 colleges. I got into the school I really want to go to, Morgan State University, guys. Like, I got into the EOP program at Buffalo State, so I didn't really have to pay anything there. So, like, she really helps us throughout everything. So, I think having YPI and everything that they're doing is just great.
Guidance counselors towards, like, the mid-school year and like, for seniors, that's who their main focus is on. Like seniors, so like as 9th, 10th, and 11th graders, like in some schools, you know, they do have different guidance counselors, but for like our school, like the 7th and 8th, 9th and 10th, 11th and 12th. So they're kind of split up. So like not every grade has their own guidance counselor. So when it comes time, like my junior year, and I want to go talk to my guidance counselor, she's completely packed. Like she's busy with all the seniors, she's trying to get their applications in, she's trying to get all of their stuff together.
Wow. So how has your perspective changed over time? And what do you see that we need to do more of in the area of school climate that can really give you that positive outlook, that hope that you now have? Because, a picture is painted for you. Whether you go to college or not, you believe that there's a future. There are possibilities outside of just the day-to-day, let me see if I can pass this class, let me decide whether I'm going to show up or not. Right? So how has your perspective changed over time? And what do you wish you had earlier that could have really given you more out of your high school experience?
I can start by saying that passing high school, kids need to know is just a minor goal. Like, they need to understand that after you pass high school, there's still a lot more school you have to do based on what you want to do, and a lot of kids don't understand that. So they come in failing, and then senior year they have to make that up, and then you're on top of making all your freshman year work back up. You want to apply for college now. So I think it's important, probably even out of the 8th grade, to know that if you want to plan your future or do what you have to do to walk the path that you want to walk, that you need to be successful in everything you do right now. You need to know that this is just a small wall and you got another one that you got to climb. And that's what a lot of kids don't know.
Well, in 9th and 10th grade, I didn't really do well in school, and I actually wanted to drop out in 10th grade. And I felt like the teachers and administrators really didn't care, and they didn't enforce things on me, I guess you could say. But in 11th grade, with a new administrator that we had, she was on me. I had behavior. She came to my classes. She made sure I had good grades. So I went from a C kid to B plus now, and I've been on straight honor rolls from 11th straight to 12th grade. So I changed.
And a part of that was really tracking your progress, including you in the process, and really giving you something to work towards, right? Anything like that, Tamil? Or
Not every student is the same. So I know there are always rules and regulations that kind of apply, but someone like me who's struggling in school, you kind of automatically fail, saying they're not going anywhere, but sometimes no one takes the time to realize, maybe at home she's not having the best opportunity. Maybe she's going through other things that are kind of making school harder for her. Maybe she's got to stay with her mom, but it's kind of getting to know the students and their background and where they're coming from. It kind of gives you an easier perspective on them.
that actually falls right in line with a beautiful quote from this morning about equity. Right? Equity is understanding the difference in order to treat someone fairly. We had that beautiful graphic with the blocks, right? So you're saying the same thing. Don't paint with a big brush. Let's take some time and see if there is some individual need that's necessary to elevate a specific student to where they need to be. Right? Anything else? How about you have something else?
No, Mara, I was just going to say I'm ready for the next topic.
Mentorship, right? How important is mentorship to you? And would you want to be a mentor to others? Did you wish you had a mentor? What is your relationship with the concept of mentorship?
I wish I had more mentors in my 9th and 10th grade year because I probably would have done way better. But now I know I can go to the college center and I know I go to my administrators and all of my teachers are always willing to help me with anything. And I even enjoy being a mentor because I know the other day a freshman came up to me can you help me on my essays, give me a rubric, tell me how to go about it. And I just felt proud and stuff because there's a lot of seniors in the college center and she just came to me about it. So I enjoy being a mentor to others.
Nice. Anybody else?
I can say mentors are really important because I can go back to when I was in the 8th grade when I was a shady student. I could say I didn't really care about school, but then again I did care about it. And then I spoke to my brother and he told me all the advantages I could have if I start now doing different things, playing sports, extracurricular activities, doing my homework, just big things that lead to having something bigger. And I believe and he said to me, "Oh, I wish I had someone there my when to help me out." So I thought about that. So if there's no one there to help you out or give you a reasonable understanding, you're gonna follow a different path. No one's gonna really mentor you or tell you that this is the path to follow. So I was fortunate to have someone to tell me the path to follow.
Well, I'll actually ask you a question from this morning session. They asked, how do we repair the disbelief that working hard will lead to success? A lot of times we hear working hard, work hard and you're going to succeed, work hard and you're going to succeed. Our young people today have so much more information. They can see the stats. They know that people are coming out of law school and can't find jobs, right? How do we kind of build that trust? How do we really build that belief again that actually working hard actually leads to results? Do you have any ideas on that?
I just think the way you present yourself. Because if I go into a classroom and my teacher just sitting at her desk and like do this worksheet, I'm gonna be like, that's not working hard. That's nothing.
Modeling.
Yeah, like I want you to be talking. Like I want to be active. I want to be involved in the conversation. I don't want you sitting at your desk giving me some paper to do.
I did not expect that answer, but it's a great answer. So the teacher's actual attitude and approach makes you have a certain reflection on what working hard looks like.
If a teacher comes into school every day and kind of seems like they hate their job, it's kind of like, is
this worth it? Is this what I'm looking forward to?
It's like what I'm working forward to, especially like, I don't want to be a teacher, but Angel wants to be a teacher, and it's kind of like, okay.
I'm working hard for one.
Why do you want to be a teacher, Angel?
I want to be an English teacher.
Why?
I just enjoy like helping kids, and I think I have a lot to offer the kids.
Wow.
Nice. Thank you.
Tamel, how about you? How do you feel, we can work on that aspect?
Could you repeat the question one more time? Sorry. I got a little topic when I was saying it.
How do we repair the disbelief that working hard will lead to success? Because, kids hear this all the time. Work hard, work hard, work hard.
All right, I could start by saying my personal story. Like everyone said, oh, you need to make honor roll and something like that. So my brother had offered to get me something if I made honor roll. So I had made honor roll that marking period, but and then getting my reward for that, I didn't feel as good as actually making honor roll. I saw that my teachers felt different about me. Just, all right, you're a good kid. Go help this student out. Like it just gives you a different kind of trust and perspective of what you got to do. And once you're up, why would you want to go back down? Mm-hmm. So that's basically what I saw. So once I got honor roll, I said, what's next? High honor roll? I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna push to do that. So I believe once you achieve a minor goal, is going to make you want to achieve another goal.
I love that concept.
Right.
We have to somehow encourage the small achievements, right? Because here it is, you have this incentive that is cool, but what I like best is that, my teachers treat me different. And there's this other goal that I'm trying to achieve because I'm finished with this one here, right? So it actually gives you something to step up to. Any other ideas?
I'm kind of thinking of what Tamel said, you go through 9th and 10th, obviously you go through your 4 years of high school, you weren't the same person who you were in 9th grade that you are your senior year. Teachers kind of build this, kind of already have an idea of who you are before you even step into the classrooms. And it's kind of not fair, especially like if you've taken like a change and like a turn for the better.
Great. So although a lot of this seems like self-reflection among the students, what I like about communication is a lot of times it's not what you say, but what people hear. And a lot of times we say a lot, but they might be hearing something else. And here is it, these students are saying something that can help us say the right things so that the students we speak to hear the right things. So we're kind of getting a perspective of their mindset, how they're thinking, how they're feeling, that can help us really communicate with them differently so that we can improve our school climate. Right? So we are wrapping down. We're coming down to the close. Right? So I just wanted to share maybe 3 quotes with us, and maybe we can have some comments on these 3 quotes that is all connected. They're all on education. I found one that says, "It is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men or women.
Yes.
Right? It's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men or women. How do you feel about that quote?
I think that is a good quote because say if I'm doing bad now, someone could correct me. And if I'm doing bad when I'm 27 years old and it happens to be like a crime, I'll get arrested or something like that. That's with anyone in general. So if you get in trouble when you're younger, that'll give me time to reconstruct or just get better or become a better individual overall. But if I'm older, how are you going to become a better individual when you're already like 30? No one's going to waste their time on you. But you can waste time on the youth to make them a better adult. Well, I don't want to say waste time, but no one really wants to change a 30-year-old. You'd rather change a 5-year-old before a 30-year-old.
So even if the 10-year-old acts up, you still believe that we should be more patient and look at the individual's potential further down the line than what they're actually showing us now.
Yeah.
Because like kids are like sponges, you know, when they're little they kind of take in what's around them and, you know, they're still growing and developing. Someone who's, like you said, 30 years old, they're kind of set in their ways.
Yeah.
There's no changing it.
So you think you're still changeable?
Yes.
Good, good. So we're going to keep working on it. We'll keep working on it. Any other ideas on that quote? All right, I'll read the second one. It says, the task of modern education, or educators, is not to cut down jungles, but to irrigate deserts. Not to cut down jungles, but to irrigate deserts. So some of what you described about Yonkers and your experience could feel a little bit like a desert, right? But here it is, you see opportunities and people investing in your life that are providing water to you and nourishing you. How do you feel about that quote?
I could start by, I could go to after school activities, all right?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
I could say when the programs were going to get eliminated for football, say they already had got rid of JV programs and there was a risk of there not being a varsity program. So imagine if there was no varsity program, then I would have never got the opportunity to go to college and play football. It would have just went over and over, and there would have been no after-school program for me to play. Then I would have had to eventually probably ask my mom, can we move or something? Because I always wanted to play football for high school. So I'm saying if we got rid of varsity, then there's nothing to do. But we keep making more programs for kids to do. I think that would be better.
Kind of going off what Jamal said, I've been playing varsity since I was in 8th grade because when I got to 8th grade, our JV and our modified were gone. So like, you know, this is my 4 years on varsity, and it, you know, it's definitely a challenge. I was a small kid, you know, playing against giants who were like this, Luke's height. It was scary.
Right, I just was reflecting on what you were just saying. I can't imagine someone not understanding how important activities are to you. Because if they realize how important it is, then they'll see every other aspect of your achievement going up. Now imagine if we didn't understand that, and we just said, hey, don't bother with that football thing. How would you feel about school? Period.
Some kids come to school, like, our basketball team at our school, like, their coach is very hard, behavior sheets, you know, and they're all, like, as a team, their whole average went up, like 30% for, like, each kid.
Because they wanted to play.
They wanted to play, you know, like, having something to work for, like, having a goal, to know that, like, if I get, like, a 65 in this class, I can't play on this team anymore, it's kind of like,
especially if it's something you love to do, right?
Yeah.
Right, I found that worked for me because even in college, in the honors program at Brooklyn College, I could not operate academically without volleyball. You know, I was a volleyball athlete, and I couldn't do one without the other. You know, and that's just one, you know, my personal experience on that. All right, we're going to open up for some questions because we have some good time.
Yes, can you tell me your transformation? What impact has it had on your family? If you attend a house of worship, your community, your siblings, how has this been transferred beyond just your own personal perspective? How has it influenced your siblings and your parents and others in your life?
I'm the youngest of 4, So it was kind of, I was the last one. I am the last one. My mom's not having anything. But my 10th grade year, I kind of fell off of like honor, like the end of school year, like when I got to softball, and I kind of fell off. And it was a complete change in home. My mom, she wasn't so happy. But when I started my junior year again, and I made back the honor roll, and in the second marking period, I made high honor roll, and keep working towards the goal. Your home life kind of changes. You're able to do more stuff. Like I go to church in Yonkers, so being able, like my church offers scholarships, but you got to get you have to have a certain requirement. So knowing that my mom could not be able to pay as much for me, she already pays for my sister. My sister goes to SUNY Binghamton. My parents are already paying a lot for her. So, having, working for a goal that she might not have to pay so much kind of makes her, easier for them, not so much stress on them.
For me, I'm going to be the first to graduate high school and the first to go to college. I'm basically breaking the cycle, and my younger siblings, because I'm the middle child out of 6 of us. So they have somebody that they can look up to. I know my grandparents, because I live with my grandparents, I know they're proud because they finally see somebody achieving their goals. Also in my after school program, I was really bad and stuff like that. So and I didn't get good grades. So now I'm getting good grades. I'm involved in everything. I totally changed my ways. And I go to church now, and I participate in praise dance and feed the homeless. So I'm really involved in everything now.
I can start by saying that my mom always tells me, oh, you're going to be the one, you're going to be the one. Just out of all her kids, she always says that. But I can say that my mom told me one day, she's like, oh, you motivate me. I don't understand what made you different from all your brothers or what's different about you. But her telling me that I motivate her just because I do good made me feel good. So knowing that I motivate my mom, knowing that I motivate others is going to try to make me a motivational person.
Wow. I feel inspired.
I have 2 questions, guys. First of all, I want to say you guys are blessed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Done good. And I want to ask first this question. I work with families and parents who have children with disability who act out, who drop out of school, and I run a support group. And many parents, what can I tell the parent what their child's feeling? What should I say to them when they come in my group and say, oh, my child was bad, they don't want to go to school? What should I say to them?
Honestly, I think you should get a group of volunteers of teenagers, kids who been through, not doing well in school like that, and get them to talk to the parents.
Show them that
We've been through it, and there's we can overcome that.
There are kids that have been through this, that have experienced it, and they have taken a turn for the better, the hope in it.
Why did I tell that mother that you guys could do that? I understand that because I've been one of you in 1973 when I sat on that panel. I didn't live in Yonkers, but I lived in the Lower East Side, which was similar to Yonkers in the 70s. So I understand, what you guys are going through. There were no activities. My mother was a single parent. The school wrote, she will never achieve anything. I became one of their leading students when I made it. But I understand, what you guys are going through. But what can I tell that mom? What would you look like someone just told your mom?
I think the first thing is tell them not to give up on their kids. You definitely cannot give up on them. Because once they see that you stop trying, then that's just going to make them not wanting to get better, not wanting to do better. Because they know, they have nobody to impress. They have nobody to do good for. So, honestly, tell them not to give up on their kids.
And also you have to tell parents like that, who is my son or daughter hanging out with? Because most of the times when I was younger, I wasn't a bad kid, but I would have 2 or 3 friends that would probably want to, let's throw a rock at this bus real quick. And that would motivate me to do something bad, even though I didn't really want to do it bad. I wouldn't walk down the street by myself and say, let me hit this bus and run away. But if you're with people that do bad things, it will eventually rub off on you, and those bad things will make you bring bad things to the table. It's just something that keeps going. It doesn't stop.
Thank you, guys. And the other question was, is somebody preparing you for college? Because for me, it was culture shock. There's nobody's going to hold your hand in college. You lose some of that. I know school is different today. There are more programs in college, but when I went to college, nobody had seen a Latino person. So they would say to me, what are you?
Well, definitely with the YPod and the college center and all of the college advisors that we have, they definitely prepare us. Like, they're so real with us. If you don't have this grade, you're not going to this college, so you need to get your grades up. They help us with everything. College applications, you're giving us waivers, going over our resume, everything. So we definitely have somebody on top of us getting us ready for college.
Getting you into college.
Into college, definitely.
Anybody spoken what college feels like
In
in first
psychology.
semester?
Well, what I thought was really important that they shared with me, and I always try to share with my friends, I say, even if you think, oh, I don't need to learn this math, I can cheat on someone's test. I was like, oh, you can cheat now, but you're going to cheat yourself later. Because when you get to class, you have to pay for remedial classes and things like that, of that nature. So it's like, if I know that eventually something's going to affect me in the long run, I'm going to try to do better at it now.
Maybe they're not doing as well as you. How do you deal with, first of all, do you have a lot of those friends that might be trying to unmotivate you? Like what you were saying, that if you have the three friends that want to go to rock, right, at the bus, and how do you deal with that, and what do you try to tell them maybe to motivate them?
I had in my school, so when we had found out who made principal's list and stuff like that, there's this one girl, one of the hardest workers I know in my school, she made principal's list, and one of the girls who just made honor was just like, how did she make principal's list? She's dumb. And it's kind of to take that away from her, to take, she worked hard for it, and it's maybe, and I would tell her, you say she's dumb, but she's there, you gotta maybe work as twice as hard as her, and maybe you can get there yourself, Never try to take away what someone worked for. To take that away from her was just
What I could say I do with my friends, because a lot of my friends they're not really good in school, so what I ask them, what do you like to do? And then if they tell me what they like to do, I'll say, all right, so focus on that, make that your primary thing, but make sure you always have a backup plan, because I have a friend that wants to be a rapper. I say, all right, you want to be a rapper, do you know how many rappers there are? I'm not going to discourage him, but I'm going to say, all right, are you doing good in school? Because do you know how many rappers there are that dropped out of school? So I always tell them, if you want to become something, then make sure you always have a backup plan. Make sure you're always doing good that can make you go forward. So I tell them to come to church with me. I used to get them all involved to play Pop Warner football, just doing something positive.
With me, when we had our honor roll ceremony, all of my friends was on honor roll except for one person. So we just felt so bad, we're all getting our award, and then he just left out. So we went to the guidance counselors, and we went to his teachers and stuff like that to go find out what's he doing wrong. Because he don't make it on time to school, so I call his house in the morning, make sure he's up and ready, so he can get on honor roll with us, so he don't feel left out.
Excellent. We had a question right here.
Yes, actually I have two. One is, will you please share what you think the importance of parental involvement in your education is, and if you want to share something about the parental involvement of your parents, and then also the second one is, will you share in reference to student empowerment of their rights in the educational system, and informing, enlightening, educating, and empowering the school board and your parents of what is or what is not happening in your classroom, like you shared the inappropriate comments, or when you don't have a steady teacher. For people to be able to do something, those who are within power, to do something, they need to know something about it, and a lot of times parents don't know, school board members don't know, unless we hear from you, and your voices are important. And lastly, I just want to make this comment, because I'm definitely pro just with children being advocates, young adults being advocates. It should never be nothing about you, for you, without you. So I'm just thrilled to have you all here and be a part of it.
So the first question was?
Parent involvement.
Parent involvement.
Parent involvement.
Well, my parents aren't really involved, because I live with my grandparents, so they're old and stuff like that, So they're not really involved in what I do, and they can't make it to things. I guess I do feel bad. I hurt sometimes when they can't make it to my volleyball games or an honor roll ceremony. It hurts me. But I mean, it means a lot for your parents to be involved in what you do, because you're just making them proud, and it's just something that kids want. So I think having, even if you're suspended, just having your parents bring you to school, just shows they care about you and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I could also say there's a lot of parents that, even though that they have a son or daughter, they can't really put all their emphasis on their son or child. So that's why I always said it's good to have a good relationship in school with a guidance counselor, a teacher, just someone that you feel like you can open up to even more, because you can say, oh, this kid wasn't raised right, so you know he wasn't raised right, so what are you going to do to make it better? And
So when there's a gap, you expect as students that there's somebody in the school system who could play that role for you.
Yeah.
Right? That's great. Question?
The second
Oh,
question.
sorry.
Student
You have the
rights.
second question, sorry.
Student rights.
Student rights. Anybody informing you of those?
Yeah.
And
I used to have this one teacher that used to pick on me all the time. He used to tell me, like, because of, I'm very involved in my school, like with the officer, he used to tell me because I do that stuff, like I don't need a pass to run the halls, and he would never give me a pass to go to the bathroom. He would always tell me, like, just go. And like I had to tell my mom, it's like I really feel like I'm being picked on by this teacher, like, and it happens constantly. So my mom was like, okay. So then she, having your parent, like, that they care, like you said before. Like my mom had to call the school and like I had to bring him in, like, so at that point, like he did know like what he was saying to me and what he was doing to me was wrong. But, it's kind of gotten to the point where like, that happened in December and now we're reaching February and starting again. So my mom's gonna have to, like, soon enough she's gonna have to come back and to talk to him. And like some teachers just don't understand, like, that, like, it's kind of like respecting, you gotta give respect to get respect, but it's like, if I need a pass to go to the bathroom, why are you gonna deny me and tell me that? Just go because of who I am.
With me, I go to school for my education, so that's what I expect to get, So like, I know like if I feel like I'm not being taught and my teacher is like teaching half of the class and not the whole class, I'm just gonna go to my administrator and let him know. I'm gonna write a report, let him know this is what's going on in class and it should not be going on.
You elect her for the board.
that's another idea.
When you said the student right things, I think one of the biggest problems is that even though the teachers, they don't really have a good understanding with the students, and the students don't have a good understanding with the teachers. So what happens is, even though I know this is my student rights and the teachers know his rights, those rights get kind of overused, and then we just end up not speaking to each other. Like the teacher says, I don't have to speak to you. That's his right. Well, not that he doesn't have to speak to you, but he doesn't have to show that same compassion. So when you don't have to show that same relationship, that's where respect goes on. Younger kids and everything should automatically respect older people, but where we're from, they don't understand that concept of respect.
But also, I think like, a lot of people like they don't say nothing if like the teacher isn't teaching and stuff like that, because we feel like the administrators are gonna take the side of the teachers regardless.
And a lot of students, if the teacher is not gonna like teach me well and he's gonna be lazy, the student is not gonna have that motivation to say, hey, I want to learn, give me some work. So if the teacher's not gonna give me that motivation, or my parents is not giving it to them, who is? That's what happens a lot.
I like those R words. You talked about rights, but then we need to balance that with responsibility. Then we need to work on the relationships, right, that really pull it all together. All right, question?
I don't even know if it's a question. I've had a million thoughts. First of all, you're all so well-spoken. We've had amazing speakers today, but you're the most powerful of any of them. Thank you. So I'm a third grade teacher, and I love all my kids, and I think it's hard to hear the negative things that you're bringing about teachers, and as a teacher, I feel like, that hurts to hear that my colleagues, don't value each and every student and their strengths and where they're coming from and all that. I want to believe that most people go into teaching for the right reasons, and whether it's their own frustration or whatever that's making them be that way. I love that you just like moving forward, past is the past, and this teacher is this way. And with my own kids, I always was like, you're going to have some bad teachers, but later in life you're going to have some bad bosses, and you've got to just block it out and do things right. And if that's the only lesson you get from that teacher that year, well, it's still a life lesson. So good for you. That's really
Thank you.
I just want to ask you all a question. Are you aware of the fact that in Yonkers, as in every school district in New York State, there's a code of conduct, and you as students should have had access to that code from the very beginning of your time in school, and
Yeah.
code lays out all the rules, so
We're
you're familiar?
definitely aware of it, but I don't think like I have that code of conduct book, but honestly, I never read that. Like, I never took that into consideration. So I mean, it's not really something that kids. Oh, I'm gonna go read that code of conduct. Like, it's like a book of rules. They're not reading that.
Do you think if it looked any different?
If it was presented differently.
Yeah, it's like-
Different, if it,
It's kind of like, like if, I got in trouble one time, my mom made me read it, but it's like section A and then 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like, it's boring.
Yeah.
I think like the code of conduct, because the last time, it's funny that she mentioned grade, I know it's bad, but I think that the rules or things of the sort should be placed around the school for decorations. Like when I go to like Harrison High School or anything, I notice I look around, it says different rules, but you have a kid on a poster smiling or something. I would read the code of conduct that was presented to me in like a way that it would make me want to read it. If I'm going to school for 4 years and I see it around the walls, I'm gonna look at it, but if it's not around the walls, I'm not gonna think about getting this textbook sized paper to read it.
And I don't think like teachers and administrators really enforce the code of conduct.
They only bring it out when you do something wrong.
Sometimes they don't even do
At
that.
the beginning, you don't get one in
No.
science.
Like in my school, we have like a no hat and no cell phone rule. Like you get your phone taken away, you gotta use first time you get it back, the second time a parent or guardian has to come. In my school, like we have those rules posted around, right? And those are like, I guess the most, like they kind of make it seem like it's the most important rules in our school. But like the other day, like a couple in our school just got in trouble and they ripped out the code of conduct and was just like, no public protection in school. It's kind of like, oh. I didn't know that.
Are there posters in your school that reinforce the positive? Or
Yeah, we have, like,
like
honorable-
motivational quotes or
Oh
anything
yeah,
like
in
that?
my school we have like Maya Angelou quote, like right on the stairwell, and in most of our
Do
classes.
you remember what it says?
Every student, every classroom, I forget the last part. Every student, every classroom. Every day. Yeah, every student, every classroom, every day.
Excellent. That's a perfect example of the way in which you presented that I actually remembered, although she didn't know she was going to be quizzed on it. Right? So we're going to wrap up. If there's no more questions.
I have one question.
One more question?
Two
Okay.
questions. You guys have a strong student government, so you can be empowered. And my next question is, how do you guys feel about, because I'm hearing like y'all want relationship with teachers, how do you feel about like a meet and greet before school starts so you get to like take 2 minutes to get to know your teacher, have a conversation?
That would be great.
Like an open house, like
We do have open houses like orientations, and they kind of invite the students in, but at that time most teachers are just setting up their classrooms, they're just coming in to like kind of like a head start for them. They're not really there to talk to the students. So like a meet and greet would be great to like, especially as a freshman, you're coming into a new environment. Like you don't know anyone, unless you're coming with a couple of your friends, everything is new to you. So, getting a chance before you actually enter the school environment to kind of know your teachers and know like what you're kind of going to be dealing with. And what was your first question?
And you have a strong student government.
The student government at my school is like, it's okay. It's not the best, but it's not the worst.
And for me, I ran for president, but I lost.
I run for president as well.
But like I'm still involved. Like that didn't stop me from being involved in student government. I'm still involved in it. But like we don't meet the way we should, and I know like the president, she said she was doing things and didn't do it. So like people aren't like going with their word. So it's not really organized the way it should be.
All right, so we're trying to put up some slides that kind of encapsulates the things that we were speaking of today. But my last quote for the day is from JFK. And he says, "Let us think about education as the means of developing our greatest abilities, because in each of us there's a private hope and dream, which fulfilled can be translated into benefit for everyone and greater strength for our nation." So thank you so much, students. And it was a pleasure being with you.